Let's talk about this show, and I have as my guest Tom DeWeese, American Policy Center and editor of the DeWeese Report. Tom DeWeese, welcome to Patriots, Inc., Writing the Right.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Glenn. Thank you.
I thank you so much, and I want you to, first of all, tell us about American Policy Center.
Well, we've been around since about 1986.
You are one of two people on Agenda 21 that I have come across who have done exhaustive research on this area. First of all, I'd like to have you summarize Agenda 21. Then I'm going to ask you the big question, is this a conspiracy theory that people are trying to trash it out to be, and as if it's illegitimate? First of all, tell us in your own words, and take as much time as you want right now, to summarize Agenda 21. I know that's a big mouthful to concentrate on.
Usually it takes me about an hour in a speech to do that. Agenda 21 was introduced to the world in 1992 at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro through the United Nations. And George H.W. Bush signed America onto it at that time, and then Bill Clinton grabbed hold of it and began to make it policy in the United States. Essentially, Agenda 21, the advocates of it tell us it's just to preserve our natural resources for future generations. But what it really means is locking away our natural resources, locking away land. A lot of people think Agenda 21 is really just about conservation and environmental protection and doing some development in your community to help you, achieve these goals. But in reality, the logo of Agenda 21 is three connecting circles. We call them the three E's, and you have to understand what these three E's are to understand sustainable development and why it's such a danger. The three E's are social equity, economic prosperity, and ecological integrity. Ecological integrity is literally the excuse. What we have is a situation here where the communist movement in the world tried to get us to accept the ideas of Karl Marx and move in that direction and for total collectivism. We didn't buy it. They ended up coming up with a plan that says, if we come up with some ecological Armageddon, then people will begin to give up their liberties like a good old-fashioned book burning, and then we can move our position that way. I mean, I don't think I'm overstating the case when I say it that way, because ecological integrity became the excuse to impose Agenda 21. But social equity is the real force behind this. You've heard the term social justice. Social justice is used all through the sustainable development literature, and if you begin to look at what they consider to be a social injustice, you get the picture that what we're fighting here, every single issue today on the table, whether it is environmental issues, or it is economic issues, or it is gun control, or it's illegal immigration, or anything like that, these issues we fight today, you'll find sustainable development is at the root of it. And I say that because social injustice, it is a social injustice according to sustainabilist literature to have borders on your country, because that stops the natural migration of people to move into another area if they desire. So that's a social injustice. It is a social injustice to own private property, because private property is a means to build wealth, and some people build wealth and others don't, so that makes it a social injustice. It's a social injustice for someone to own a business. All the workers should share in the business according to sustainable literature. So you get the picture of what this is. That is what we're fighting on sustainable development. It is a total transformation of our society away from free enterprise, away from limited government, away from individual liberty, and moving towards a top-down control of every aspect of our lives. And the third thing, the economic policy, is this is done through public-private partnerships. Now, a lot of conservative organizations promote public-private partnerships as being a free enterprise response to keeping taxes down, keeping the size of government down. by letting private money build infrastructure. But in reality, public-private partnerships are an elitist system where certain corporations are in partnership with your government officials, and what they become are government-sanctioned monopolies. There's no free enterprise involved in a government-sanctioned monopoly. So you see corporations like Walmart beginning to dictate policy in a community, and they get all kinds of goodies from the community, tax breaks, and being able to use land that others aren't able to build on, and this sort of thing. So all this together paints the picture of sustainable development, Agenda 21, and it is being implemented in every single community in this country. The federal government has put together grant programs. If a community takes those grant programs, that money comes with strings attached that they have to develop their communities a certain way. They have to do their farming a certain way. All of it means it's more expensive. Energy control makes your energy more expensive. They're looking at controlling the energy use in your homes, making that more expensive. It causes more expense. It causes more shortages, and it is leading to a future of really what it all leads to is redistribution of wealth, our wealth to other countries.
Exactly. Well, you defined that in just 5 minutes. I took a whole show last week to do that. You are excellent in putting it all in perspective for us. I did some more research, and I found out the state of Florida, Tom, has issued an executive order passed under I think Governor Christ, and it was the immediate actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from Florida state government 10% by 2012, 25% by 2017, 40% by 2025. Another executive order to take immediate actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions within Florida, reduction in gases to 2000 levels by 2017, and then the executive order for Florida Governor's Action Team on Energy and Climate Change, and appoint a team to create a Florida Climate Change Action Plan. So I'm encouraging our listeners to understand these things are right here in our back door. They're right here in Pinellas and Hillsborough counties in the Tampa Bay area as well, correct?
Absolutely. It is in every single community across the country. There are maybe a few exceptions, and we are beginning to see that it is reached so deeply into the community that now people are beginning to get the picture, figure out something is wrong, and people are beginning to stand up and fight across the country, and that's really thrilling. The idea that this is all done to cut your emissions and the carbon footprint. That's the mantra behind it. We've got to cut our carbon footprint. That is all based on the theory of global warming, that we've got to cut our carbon footprint, we've got to cut our emissions because it's causing global warming. And the interesting thing is that the global warming movement is in absolute disarray at this point because over the last year or so, the truth has begun to come out that global warming is the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the community of man, and yet it has so much momentum, so much money, so much power behind it that, like they're doing in Florida, they're continuing to move forward with something that even the people who are perpetrating it know that their time is just about up.
Yes.
So I've never seen such a powerful, rich movement collapse so quickly. They had every international and national leader. They had billions and billions of dollars to promote this. But, just last year we had what was called ClimateGate, where thousands of emails over a 10-year period written by the people who are promoters of global warming, communications among themselves, saying things such as, I can't find any warming in this latest report. And then somebody else saying, well, here's a trick I use. We can get around that. And then we found how they intimidated publishers of science magazines to not allow reports from those who disagreed with them. This kind of a scandal just absolutely has collapsed the global warming crowd. And they're looking for other ways to promote their policies without global warming. But at the moment they're still trying to stick with that.
And just as an example of that, on Thursday I heard Rush Limbaugh say that they just recorded the coldest winter in the Northeast that they have ever had. And there's your global warming down the drain. This past week, Tom, and by the way, folks, we're listening to Tom DeWeese here. He is with the American Policy Center. And by the way, Tom, as I was going to this education revolution this past week with Dick Morris and Michael Medved, I talked to Michael Medved and I asked him, what do you know about Agenda 21, and do you understand the global controlism of the UN? Well, here's Mike Medved said, didn't think that the UN could ever push anything over the USA, even though I explained how it's already been pushed, even with the Texas corridor, as well as a lot of local and national stuff. And I say nobody in the media, nobody in the talk show hosts are talking about Agenda 21, and no politician wants to talk about it, whether they're conservative or liberals in the matter. Help me out on this, Tom. Why are they just not talking about this?
This is an issue that I've been working on for 15 years.
I know.
I came from what would be called the mainstream conservative movements, the ones who put on CPAC, the American Conservative Union, Heritage Foundation, Cato, Reason Foundation, and none of these guys will talk about this, and I've been trying to get them to do it. They will talk about global warming, and they've done an excellent job there in exposing that. They talk about cap and trade, which is a program of sustainable development. They go into all those things, and they'll talk about smart growth, which is a piece of sustainable development. But they will never talk about the central issue. And quite frankly, and of course they very openly promote public-private partnerships. Cato and Reason are two of the worst in the country promoting those things as free enterprise, and I've talked to them about that.
Mm-hmm.
The only conclusion that I can come to without going into any kind of deep, conspiracy theory is that if you take a look at their contributors, you will find that their contributors are major international corporations who are heavily involved in the creation and promotion of sustainable development.
Yes,
so
understand.
That's what I've come up with so far.
Well,
because there's the philosophy of what they believe in. You talk to them, they tell you they're for limited government, limited environment, or limited involvement by the government into our lives, and there is no more bigger involvement of government in our lives than sustainable development. I can't figure out why they have such a blind spot.
Well, it's probably the same blind spot people have about Obama, thinking that was a great speech of nothing yesterday and all platitudes. Not yesterday, but this past week here on Tuesday night. We've got about 6 minutes.